Hello and welcome to Sovereign RPG. I am Sovereign, and today we have a couple of drama points we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about three different drama points. The first one being that Nina is finally going to be speaking on the actual YouTube, on voice for most of people. It's going to be the first time they're going to be hearing the pixel. Second drama point is a video that sparked myself and Nina's investigation into the insurance system, which was put onto Reddit. I'll leave the link for that in the description and in the pinned comment. It was proof that there was some PLEX going missing on there, and it was sort of like, it put a question in my head. I thought, okay, it's just probably going to be the 10% tax that goes missing when it did, but it was much higher than I thought it would be. So I then sent it to Nina, and Nina said, well, no, it's nothing to do with the taxes because it's way too much. And then we sort of got into the conversation, and then I went to Exile. So I went to Exile, we spoke to Exile, we got some information from him. He sent me the log of what was done in that video, and it shows that, yeah, it's a lot higher percentage than we thought it was, but also that the video that was put on there where they said that they had no free IP, but it actually did. So that was confusing as hell, but we won't go into too much details in case he accuses me of shitting on him again. And the last point is the large amount of PLEX that's being sunk into this system as a, how did they put it? They put it as they put it up as a service charge. So anyway, now we've sort of got a breakdown of what we're going to be talking about today. This is going to be a sort, there will be some points on the screen, and there will be stuff there where we'll show you all of the calculations and the answers and the questions that we asked. So everything will be on the screen. You can sort of view this as a podcast because we will be going over each individual thing, so you don't really have to look at the screen. So put your headphones in, sit back, make a cup of tea, enjoy yourself, and we're going to talk some shit. So welcome, Nina.
Hello, is the voice changer working?
I think we should start that again. No voice changer. No voice changer.
Nope.
Oh well, cat's out of the bag.
Anyway.
Anyway, moving on to the actual meat and potatoes of the video. So the beginning of the insurance system when it came out, what was your actual estimate of how the system was supposed to be working at that time?
Well, from the way that it showed in-game, that the only thing that would technically be taken out would have been a 10% charge, which I assumed would have been just the sales tax. Because when you sell PLEX, when you have maximum skills on your account, you still pay a 10% transaction fee. And the way that the system in-game shows it, it says that Pend Insurance will take 10% of the converted IP, which you would assume would be the transaction tax.
So the transaction tax, a lot of people are saying that that's sort of like skimming PLEX, even with just the original estimate of what we thought the system was doing. They had sort of thought that that was a skimming of PLEX. The reason why they did that was to like sort of step back from saturating the market too much. That was what the devs had told us. Is that correct? Am I correct in saying that?
I believe that would be an intent of it, yeah. Or another explanation would be just to simulate if a legitimate player was selling that PLEX.
Then there would be the 10, well, there would be, what is it? What's the, it's just broker's fee, isn't it?
When you sell PLEX, there's no broker's fee. It's just the 10% transaction fee, assuming you have maximum skills.
Yeah, so if like, I mean, who, apart from me and you, has a dedicated alt for trading?
Well, it's just how they designed the system. So.
Well, that's perfectly fine. There's, if you had a perfectly skilled trading person and they were selling PLEX on the market, because you don't have the broker's fee, I made that mistake before. I always get confused by the taxes and the broker's fees. There's so many bloody transactions when you're trying to sell something on the market that it's just still confusing to me even now. So I don't even try. I got 5s in all of my skills for trading, and I just sell shit and I don't care about the numbers except for the number of how much it costs.
Yeah, pretty much.
So after we found out that sort of, we watched that video, we sent that video to Exile, and Exile is the actual director of the Eve Echoes project, correct?
Yeah, senior producer, director, whatever you want to call it, really.
Senior producer sounds better. We'll go with senior producer. So we sent it to him. He then came back to us, and I'll put this up on screen. Obviously, he didn't send me any personal information or or anything. He just sent me some rows that showed the actual breakdown of how many insurance points were used, how many insurance points were used, at the cost in IP and all that sort of thing. It come up on there. And it showed that there was free IP on that kill. So the person who made the video had free IP on that video. And it was a succubus video. I'll put the Reddit post down there as I said. There was free IP on there, but even though there was free IP, it didn't account for the amount of plex that had actually gone missing, even with the 10%. That's correct, right?
Yeah, the video, I believe it was like 153 or 4 plex it converted into.
Yeah.
But the video showed that there was about just over 100.
Yeah, 100. I think it was 101. It showed 101 plex that when the sell order was put up, which she showed in the video.
Yeah.
So and there was like 56 plex or something missing. So I think it was 157 it was used. I can't remember the exact thing, but you'll be able to see in the Reddit post. I haven't got it in front of me right now. I'll have to like just apologize for that.
I mean, we expected about 150-ish, and there was only 100, so, you know.
Yeah, there was a large amount of plex that just disappeared, and that was his accusation of the devs skimming plex from the market.
Yeah, you would assume that if it was that 10%, then you would say 150 goes to 135 plex. And then that's all accounted for.
Fair enough. And that would have been easy for us and we wouldn't have to make this video. But I hope you are enjoying this video. So if you are, please put a like on there so we can continue to make more and get sort of this video out there to everyone with the full explanation of the insurance system itself. And if you haven't subbed already, please do that. So moving on to the next part of it where he explained that. Right. So basically when I sent him the video, he said some of the IP in the system will not enter the market selling. The system will charge some IP, and that was the IP that's being charged is a sort of service charge for using the system, the same as if, for instance, a player was selling anything and you had to pay a percentage amount back into the system. It's a sync. A lot of games have these syncs happen, but the amount of the sync is what the sort of, it's not really for me, it's not an issue, but I'm not an industry player to where the issue could arise, given like if it was maximum amounts of like the worst case scenario, industry can get screwed by some of this. But we haven't got enough data points yet, and even the devs have said they haven't got enough data points yet. They're still dragging stuff in. It's kind of their fault that they drop T9 at the same time they drop insurance, and that's sort of mixing the data up, and they're not being able to grab as much data as they could. That you could say that that's their fault, but they had a sort of window they had to get something out, and you have to imagine that these devs are not the ones running the game. The suits above them are the ones that are running the game, and they want stuff out when they want it out. If they wanted all of this stuff out before Chinese New Year, the devs would have to release that thing before Chinese New Year, or there would be a big situation business-wise, and obviously the devs would get the short end of the stick over that matter.
I mean, chances are if they didn't, they'd just have to come on and work during the holidays to push it out.
Yes,
it's a very simple solution. You don't really argue with management.
No, you can't, especially in the sort of gaming industry where they're all doing all these kinds of madness right now.
Yeah.
Right, so we got it on there. So he actually broke it down for me with the actual video that he sent, that I sent to Exile. So he was talking about, he said that, so the person who made the video needed 1,103.44 IP, where 22 IP was the free IP. He had 22 free IP. So it would drop from 1,103 to 1081.44, taking those 22 away. So it would be, then they said that the 1,081.44 would be divided by 7, which is effectively 154.49 in effective plex. So, and then this is with the bit that confused me, and I was like, Nina, am I reading this right? And then Nina's like, yeah. And then we were in trouble. He then said to me that 66% of them returned to the market. 154.49, like obviously 0.66 equaled 101.96, and 101.96 is what entered the market, and the video showed that it was a little bit less than that because of the free IP, etc. And then the system recovered 0.33 to 154, which became 101, so 53 was recovered. So that was what was like recovered. I mean, he says recovered, but the 53 was what was sunk into the system. I'm right in saying that, right?
Yeah, that's how it was broken down.
So we got confused because that 0.33 is actually 33% of those plex were sunk into the system instead of the 10% that was explained in game when you open up the information screen for the insurance.
Yeah, it was very interesting to read that explanation, to say the least.
Interesting is one way to put it. We're both like, what the fuck? But like not in a bad way, because both me and Nina, we like the system. The system's been put in place. The system is very strong. It needs some tweaking, yes, but the system is very hard to take advantage of. You can't really exploit it. Like there's a very minute chance that someone will be able to find some way to properly exploit it. Now you could say that getting the insurance and blowing up your ship to get the rigs back, but there's a cost involved in that, and not always will you be able to make more money. There was the mining circ rigs at the beginning, but that's because the estimated values weren't being updated. But now the estimated values are being updated, blowing up your ship in the insurance system, and then like obviously paying for the insurance points would be almost exactly the same amount as it sells for, because they obviously just updated it. So you can't really even exploit that anymore. They plugged that hole by updating the estimated values.
I was going to say the only real exploit in air quotes, finger quotes, whatever you want to call them, is people who brought T3 rigs at very legacy prices. You know, when you could buy T3 circ rigs for like 40 mil as a blueprint.
Yeah.
And then you put them on your ship and you never lost that ship. Then technically, yes, you can exploit the insurance system to suicide your ship, buy it back, and then sell the rigs on.
And you still make money in the long run.
Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, you would still make money, but again, that's a one-time thing and is very limited in its scope.
Yeah, you can't repeat it, so you can't go out, because you'd be effectively selling the rigs and they're gone, so you can't put the rigs back on, blow up the ship again and repeat it. Even if you could afterwards, you've bought it back for the price that you've bought it back for, and it is just going to be recycling the same amount. You'll end up losing because of taxes.
Yeah, and the PLEX cost to reinsure it, as it were.
Yes.
I was just going to say, like, sort of saying, the system itself, if you look at it, just completely ignore the numbers and everything to do with it. The system itself is very strong. It's just the numbers within that system get people on edge, to say the least.
Yes, most definitely. Especially when we read this, the 33% within the actual breakdown that they sent to us. I said, why does the market take the 0.33, the 33%? And like it says in game, it's only 10% is taken, but it shows in the video and from your explanation, the 33% is taken. And then obviously we went on to have a conversation. I won't break down the entire conversation because me and Exile spoke for a good while. There's a lot of stuff in here. And like then me and Nina were talking about loads of stuff after that. And it was just like, it was a clusterfuck for a minute while we were trying to figure stuff out. And then obviously once he explained that to me, he then said, when tomorrow, obviously when Lancelot gets in, the guy who runs the insurance system, the guy who created the insurance system, he is the one that can explain it to me properly. So we figured that out, and then he said that, and then I asked him obviously for permission to be able to share the information that he's given to me, because I'm a good boy most of the time. Some people might tell you differently. Probably Nina's laughing now.
Well, from time to time.
Yeah, I might skirt the rules a little bit, but I've never got in trouble yet, so it's a bit weird. Now I'm not fully into the sort of the background of the systems. For me, if a system works, it works. I don't think about how it's made or how it's created or what's being sunk into it. Every MMO ever created has a million sinks across the board, loads of them. It helps to make MMOs like sort of equalize in the long run.
Yeah, because if you don't have any sinks and constantly generate wealth, then you know, your basic starting potion is going to cost like 6,000 gold to a new player 5 years down the line.
Yeah, because everyone who's been playing for 5 years have got trillions of gold sitting there. So it's just like, it sort of helps in the way that for a new player coming in, that they won't jump into an absolute mess of having like not being able to buy anything because they cannot make enough at the time to be able to do it. So it's sort of, that's why sinks are in place. So like if you don't like the fact that some of the PLEX is being sunk, then you're just going to have to deal with it. There's nothing you can do about it. It literally needs to be in the system. It needs to be sunk if the system is using that PLEX as the sort of PLEX to IP. If it was using something else, it would just be ISK that gets sunk, for example. If they used ISK, the ISK would also be sunk because it obviously needs to be, something needs to be sunken.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's where a lot of people get funny though, because if it was just with pure ISK that they were sinking, I don't think people would complain. But because PLEX in EVE has a real life value attached to it, and then that PLEX disappears, that's where people really get funny with the idea, I think.
Yeah, and because a lot of people don't even like that. People say the argument that the Plex can be bought of ISK, as technically it has an ISK value as well as a real monetary value. You never have to pay money for the Plex if you make enough ISK. So there is that side of it as well.
The thing is, someone somewhere in the world has to buy the Plex.
Yes.
To generate it into the game with real money.
That poor soul spending all that money to give me Plex.
I mean, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, it does help us all in the long run. There is that argument as well, and I've used that argument many times previously when people have said stupid shit to me. Like, someone had to buy it at one point. Just because it's not you doesn't mean it was never bought.
Yeah, that's. I feel like looking at it like that because Plex has to have been bought with real money at some point, and then if it just gets removed from a system, that's where people get really funny.
Get a little bit upset about it.
Well, that's a polite way of putting it.
Yes, and obviously they go into the Echoes Discord, into the Eve chat, and shit on everything every day for the past 3 weeks.
Again, putting it politely.
Oh god. So we'll just move on because we don't want this to be a 55-minute video. So we got a comment from Lance and I basically said to him why the 33%? So that's when we find out that it's not 33% for everything. We find out that if the person hasn't pre-ordered the IP for them to get the shit back, it is 10%. And then if they have pre-bought the IP and it's on the system, then it's 33%. So there's the two different sides of it. So it's not always 33% and it's not always 10%. So this sort of, I guess the way that they're doing it, they were trying to average it out in the same way they were trying to average how many buy orders are put into the system, right?
I believe what they are using is instead of just instead of just a dynamic figure, it is literally 10% of the undiscounted price is what's taken from the system. It doesn't matter if you have all of it or none of it or half of it. It will always take 10% of the undiscounted price from the IP that you spend.
Okay. So always, okay, got it. Everyone else got that? Because I'm still trying to wrap my head around this shit. So basically, after he gave us the information, he did say it's the same. So the insurance is a service, just like Omega and the skill resets. And part of the Plex will be sunk in as a service charge. That's where we find out that information. And so when I turned around to him and said, is this done to stop oversaturation of the market and obviously making the too much Plex in the system? And he said that my analysis was correct. I was right for once. Straight away, go Sovereign.
Without even asking me.
Without even asking Nina. I didn't even have to ask Nina. I feel so goddamn proud of myself that I figured that out without having to go to Nina. Which is most of the information you'll find in my videos come from me asking Nina questions. Well, not all of it.
Well, of course it's not all of it.
It's the math. Anything that involves math, and I'm just like, Nina, help me.
Yeah, pretty much.
just like,
wake up.
Yeah.
Wake up, have 6 DMs from Soph. Help, math, help, please, Nina, wake up.
My calculator's broken. I can't do anything. My phone battery's dead and I lost my charger. Right, so we go on. So he goes on to the next point where this is where we found out. So the next quote was 10% of the total value. If you don't have any IP deposit, is obviously 10% of the Plex will sink. And if you have enough IP deposit, then 33% will sink. And I believe that Nina has some examples for you to better understand how the system works. So maybe we can go through that now.
Yeah, sure. After reading everything from Lansdott and what previously is known about the insurance system, I did some very simple calculations just to explain where everything went.
Amazing,
I know, right? This is going to be assuming very simple variables, but it's, again, just to get a very basic view of where basically everything goes.
And I will add in here before Nina starts with this that we did send the calculation to Lansdott to confirm that the calculations are not missing anything. So there's no extra systems involved. There's nothing else in this. Is basically the breakdown of how the insurance system works.
Yes, I was very relieved when he said it was correct.
I mean, Nina doesn't get math wrong. Math is not something that Nina will ever get wrong. But the only time the math might have been wrong when we were working on the actual the sort of examples that we're going to be showing you. The only time it would be wrong is if they haven't told us of another system in place that would change the calculation.
Yeah, it was a relief to know that they didn't add in like a third system in the background that's like, oh yeah, we only do like X amount of the PLEX in one go, or they have like a bank of reserve that they put up every day or something, you know.
Yeah, something dodgy.
Something else for people to complain about, right?
Oh god, and we don't want that, considering you're one of the major moderators that do a lot of the work in those bloody things. So like, imagine if everyone just shits on you on the Discord for something that you've said, and then you go AFK and play Metroid.
Well, you know, got to take a break sometimes, right?
True enough. So let's go into the actual examples now. So if you want to break down those examples, I'll put the examples up on the screen if you'd like to know. You could still just be listening because Nina will go through everything for you.
All right, so in these examples, the first few variables would be a ship costs 1 billion ISK to buy, estimated price, however you want to do it. PLEX in this example costs 1 million ISK each. So the ship cost to insure it would be 7,000 IP, which is 1,000 PLEX, then times 7 into IP when you convert it. The service cost of the insurance system would be 10% of the ship estimated cost. So in this case, you have 7,000 IP. So the service cost will always be 700 IP. It doesn't matter if you have max insurance, no insurance, that is how much it will cost to use the system. So in the first example, it will assume that you've deposited the full amount of IP to get the biggest discount, which will be 2100 or 300 PLEX. The system then times that by 2.333 to create 4900 IP. Then it will, to calculate the compensation cost, it will take the base cost of the ship and then minus it by the amount of IP you have. But it is also capped, so the discount cannot be higher than 30% of the base cost. So it will always be 4900 IP would be the max discount in this case. So you have to spend 2100 IP.
Okay.
Sorry.
No. I was letting everyone know that I was still here.
Okay, now once you've spent 2100 IP and gotten your ship back, the system will convert that into PLEX at the same ratio. So 7 IP is 1 PLEX, so you get 300 PLEX. The system then removes the cost of using the service. Now this is where the 33% originally came from, because you have 300 PLEX, the base cost of the ship is 100 PLEX. So it takes 100 PLEX off of your 300 to leave you with 200 PLEX remaining. And now that they said that it's actually 10% of the total cost before discounts, the 33%, if you have max insurance, just fits perfectly and there's no more confusion.
Okay, so basically we got it down, and that example just shows the full breakdown of what the system does from start to finish when you're doing the insurance amount. So it figures out the base amount, it figures out how much PLEX is required to do the IP, and that's based off of the estimated values on the market at the time. And then it goes on to take...
Also, there is a final step when you actually sell the PLEX. The system takes 10% of that ISK as a transaction fee, so you're actually left with effectively 180 PLEXs worth of ISK, or 180 million ISK left.
And that's at the end. That's at the end of that first example.
Yeah. So effectively, in this example, if you get full discount on your ship and you compensate it back with the insurance system, the system is taking 120 million ISK or 120 PLEX out in costs and taxes, and the system then gets 180 million to put into the pool for the buy orders. So the system is actually taking 40% of the spent PLEX out as a ratio.
From the start to finish, from the start of the order, the 40% is taken as a total.
Yeah. So you spend 300 PLEX, the system gets 180 effectively after all the fees and taxes are accounted for.
Yeah. And so how many ship losses would be required to generate the ISK for one buy order?
It would take 6 compensation through the insurance system.
And that's with the full already have pre-bought IP, correct?
Yeah, yes, that's right.
So obviously, in your example, the 5 losses would equal 900 million, 6 losses would equal 1 billion, and 80 million is.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
once it reaches 1 billion, obviously it would place a buy order to buy the ship back for 1 billion and leave 80 million left in the pool.
Well, that's some eye-opening stuff, to be honest. Like, there's the higher amount of PLEX. I'm sure this is going to piss off a lot of people. A lot of people are going to be upset right now. What could we say in order to sort of tell them, look, don't lose your mind. Don't go burning down Jita again. Don't go with all this stuff. We know that there is now PLEX being sunk at a higher rate than we originally thought. But how does this affect the game in a negative way?
Well, a lot of doomsayers will probably say that they're correct, which isn't great to start with. But originally, we thought the worst case situation for industry people would be that you spend 30% of the PLEX required to get the ship back. The system takes 10% of that, which leaves you 27%. So you would only need 4 losses to generate 1 buy order. But with what we know now is the worst case situation is actually 6-1.
And that's based off of the sort of what we've been working out with the full example that we're using.
Yes. The thing is, though, this is the worst case situation for industrial guys. If you use, say, half insurance or no insurance at all, then the impact of this service fee is a lot less as a ratio. But the system at the end of the day is still taking out more than what we originally thought.
Which is naughty.
Kind of naughty, but at the same time, we assumed the wrong metric at the end of the day.
Imagine that. Someone working out the stuff at the beginning and saying all this stuff, causing the world to end, didn't have all of the variables. But turned still out to be kind of right, which is a kick in the bollocks.
Well, it is what it is.
So yeah, basically, this is how the insurance system works. This is how it is broken down. We've given you the amount of PLEX that is sunk on this system if you have pre-bought IP, if you haven't pre-bought IP. So it works out to be sort of worse than we thought it was, but it's still not the end of the world. The devs have said to us they are still, because we obviously, Nina had put in the point that maybe if they take just 10% off of the, what part of the process was the 10% be taken off of? Which part of it?
The PLEX conversion as it happens. So, for example, you convert 2100 IP into 300 PLEX. The system takes 10% of that 300 PLEX, not the amount. Basically, it's the amount after whatever discount you have.
Okay, cool. So it basically does that. And then obviously the devs are saying because of the data at the moment with the T9 and the actual market coming out at the same time, the insurance coming out at the same time. So the devs have said because the T9 came out obviously hitting at the same time, it was all a run of bad luck, and the insurance system came out at the same time. The data's sort of getting mixed up, so they can't really get a full data point currently, but they are working on that. They are working on it. They understand. They obviously said after we gave them the 10% sort of like midway saying, right, you can do some of the bit and then give us a bit this way so it'll help out with the industry. We can go on, and they're going to be working on that, and they are currently working on getting more and more data as it's being used. So there will be changes. It's just there won't be changes right now. You're not going to be expecting something to be changing any minute now. This is going to take a few months of them collecting the data to see really where it is.
Yeah, they have an extremely large amount of data to look through, so even if you're efficient at it, it will still take a while to do so.
So at the end of the day, we just kind of have to be a little bit patient with it. It's a new system they've put in place. CCP even told them not to use the ISK system. They literally told them it is shit. And it is shit. Those of us who played EVE Online, most of us don't even look at the insurance system. The insurance system doesn't exist in EVE Online. If you have a faction ship, the ISK you put in is like 7 million and you get 40 million out, say for a Gila. And that Gila has already cost you 600 million. So you're not even getting like, what, 10% of what the ship's worth out of the insurance?
Yeah, EVE Online insurance is calculated with the estimated minimal prices and just completely ignores the price of a blueprint. So if you have T2, T3 ships, or like you said, faction ships, a lot of their cost is actually just the blueprint itself. So the insurance system is kind of useless for them.
Yeah, which is why CCP told them not to use that system. I know a lot of people want to use that system, and I even in the past said we should maybe think about using a system like this. But after it being explained to me, I spoke to some CCP guys. I sort of remember when they had when it actually was cost effective. You could make ISK from blowing up your ship by making your own ships at one point in EVE Online. It went below 70% of what so the minerals went below the NPC, because it was based off of the NPC cost of minerals at first.
Yeah.
So when the market dropped below the NPC cost, you could build a ship and blow it up and make ISK, especially when it came to like Titans and carriers and shit. People were just blowing them up all over nullsec and making billions just from blowing up their own ships.
Yeah, I remember that. I was never rich enough back then to get capital ships, but I used to do that with stuff like Maelstroms, just build one, insure it, cheap fit it for PvP, then fly out. If I die, oh no, I gained 20 million ISK, what a shame.
Yeah, so like those systems all have issues. Everything has issues. The current insurance system is a good one. They've just sort of gone about it in the wrong way. In a way that not even in a wrong way, in a way that we don't feel is a good way. But we don't have all the data points. We don't know every single player. We don't know what every single player is doing. We don't know who's quitting, who hasn't quit, who's making stuff, who isn't making stuff. So really, until the data points come in, we can only speculate 100%. Now we know how the system works. You guys can use these calculations in ever what way you want. Just don't go into the EVE Echoes Discord and piss off Nina, because I have to listen to it all bloody day.
This is true. It's the cost of using my services as a calculator.
True. I have to pay something, because I definitely don't make enough money to pay you wages. Speaking of wages, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to sign up, we do have a Patreon set up, and you get early access to all of our content that we do make. And I'm hoping that in the future, if you do enjoy this video, throw up a like. I'll get Nina on here a lot more, but get him to speak about all kinds of different math stuff. If that's what you're interested in, then we'll get that going a lot more often. I've already broke the cherry, so maybe we can just fully open the doors.
Oh boy, more math.
Yay!
Said no one ever.
Yeah, true. Well, actually, it's EVE, man. They love that shit. Like, it's the only game. It's literally the only game in the world where people are like, "Yay, spreadsheets!" Except for me, I'm just like, Nina, what's the answer? I'm just like, fuck, looking at a spreadsheet.
Yeah, my brother's job. He uses spreadsheets and he despises them. So yeah, I can see that easily.
That's just not fun for me. I just want to blow shit up. Right, so this video's gone on for like 40 minutes, so we're going to be sort of cutting it there. If you have any questions in the comments, please drop a comment. I'll get Nina to answer them all for free, and then we'll do all of that from there. I'll answer some of them if it doesn't involve math. If you just want to have a bitch and a moan, have a bitch and a moan. All points will be taken, and obviously we'll be collecting that data. Please look out on Reddit for the thousands of posts that will now go up with a 33% PLEX sync. And that's basically all we have for today. So remember to like and sub if you haven't already. This is your one-stop shop to EVE Echoes content. Fly safe and avoid local chat scams.
Ciao.
Just at the end there.